y'all, how's it going? It's Rayleigh Rose here and I am so excited for this video today. First, I want to give a shout out to our newest sponsor, the Lash Wardrobe. They are who gave me these incredible lashes today, and oh girl, do they make you feel good. You can follow them on Instagram at the Lash Wardrobe. All right, now it's time for today's video. It's no secret that I'm a fan of the first Last of Us game, and I was so excited for part 2 to come out and find out more about Ellie and Joel in this zombie apocalypse. If you watched me on stream, thank you so much, and if you're tuning in today, I am so glad you're here. However, there are gonna be some serious spoilers in this video, like obviously. So if you don't want to see spoilers about Last of Us Part 2, please tune out now. Seriously, spoilers are coming in 3, 2, 1.
No way!
Holy shit, like the fact that they started the game this way and then made Ellie watch, like, I was heartbroken. I was absolutely heartbroken. I think most people were, and shocked and in denial. I literally sat there at the beginning of stream and I was like, did he just die? Did he just die? Like, I'm so glad that they started with this because I feel like out of all the big events of the game, this is a spoiler that I would have been so upset to see. So wow, I'm so glad that they started this way, but like, what a shocker. The sequel starts 5 years later after the first one with a much more adult Ellie who is on a quest for revenge after this new character Abby murders Joel with the golf club while Ellie watches. Like, ooh, what a start. Naughty Dog really misled players by making us think it was Dina that died, causing this crazy anger based on the trailers alone, and we all thought that you were gonna play the game as Ellie and Joel, hunting down Dina's killers, but like, no Joel in this game. The game is just Ellie tracking down and killing every single person who has something to do with Joel's death. And Joel's death actually brings me to my first talking point. Naughty Dog did an amazing job at taking risks. Like, not only did they kill off one of the most popular characters in any game franchise, like 10 minutes into the game, they then made the game about a relationship between two queer women and their life in a post-apocalyptic world. And then it was about the revenge of an extremely buff, extremely hot woman who kind of learns to be a better person. Like, whether you hate the game or like the game, that in itself is a really risky direction to take this game in. You know, I really love the first couple parts and hours of the game. Like, playing as Ellie in this world just felt like the first game, just with new updated graphics and cool new mechanisms for you to smash zombies and people alike. It was really cool to spend some time kind of exploring Ellie and Dina's relationship and seeing it kind of grow. That first scene that's from the trailer where they kiss, that's actually at the beginning of the game, and then the rest of their relationship grows from there. Like, they're not really even a relationship yet, but we see them kind of fall in true love. Like, it grows into something real. They're intimate and soft together, even in this harsh world. Like, it's a breath of fresh air in a world where at some points you can't even breathe. And then bam, oh shit, Dina's pregnant with her ex-boyfriend's baby. Like, what? And then he shows up in the middle of the game with a surprise. Like, on top of the zombie surprises and like dangerous militia groups, Jesse showed up out of nowhere and it was like, the story in The Last of Us is like a teen drama that like won't let up. Every single time I stream this game, I always accidentally streamed it for like 6 to 8 hours because I was just so enthralled with the game and the story, and I just wanted to learn more and see how it's gonna end. Like, boom, baby daddy, baby mama, and a little bit of a three-way triangle drama. I am all about it. It just keeps getting more and more dramatic. I just wanted to keep playing more and more, and I was loving what the team did with these characters and how they were kind of developing as a group. And then Jesse, stand up. Abby is back again, and you play the whole game, like this whole front part of the game, you play as Ellie searching for Abby, just so Abby can basically come and find you. That was a little bit of an unexpected twist in an otherwise kind of expectable story. So yeah, Jesse's dead, Tommy's life is in Abby's hands, and that's when Ellie actually reveals that she's immune. I don't know if I'd consider it like the climax of the story. I don't know if I'd consider it just the like highest point, but I will say I loved the gameplay up until this, and like I said, I loved what they were doing with the characters and all the decisions that they were making so far. But right after this moment is when the game took a turn for the worse for a little bit for me. Right after we get to this moment where boom, Jesse's dead, Tommy is in her hands, and Ellie has revealed that she is immune. What is next? A flashback. What kind of flashback, are you wondering? A flashback where you play as young Abby. I was like, what? She's playing outside with her dad and Owen, who's one of the people who helped kill Joel. Here we actually finally find out why Abby targeted Joel in the first place, which made me happier with this overall. And we find out that her dad was the surgeon who was killed at the last End of Us game. Fuck, that's not what it's called, is it? Nope. But so yeah, we find out that her dad was the surgeon who was killed in the end of The Last of Us, the first game. We kind of saw this coming as a stream group, but most of the story was a bit predictable anyways. The game uses flashbacks like this throughout the entire playthrough to make the story more well-rounded and to start connecting the past to the present. When you're playing as Ellie, this is a great tool. At the beginning of the game, you notice tension between Ellie and Joel, but you're not sure why it's there. After Joel's death, the only part that I was bummed about when it comes to Joel's death is I feel like we didn't get a chance to see what their current relationship was like and where that strain was coming from. But the game excellently uses flashbacks to reveal that Ellie actually found out the truth from the first game on her own, and at the time she can't forgive Joel for what he's done. We do find out later in the game that they were about to attempt to make things better again, but then, However, these flashbacks are also used to reveal Abby's past, and let me just say, this technique just didn't work as well as it did with Ellie, and it's mostly because we just watched Abby smash one of our favorite characters to bits, and she just killed Jesse right when the dust was starting to settle for our group. Like, she doesn't seem to feel any remorse about this, and we don't really see any remorse from her as the game moves forward. We left off with her pointing a gun at Ellie and Tommy, and now we're supposed to play as her? Empathize with her and enjoy learning about her? Playing through as her kind of numbed me to all the violence and terrifying situations that she actually is in, because I just wasn't really invested in her as a character or her quest to find Owen. Like, I just couldn't care less if she died. One of the biggest complaints that I've seen from people is that the game spends way too much time playing as Abby, especially on the first day in Seattle, and oh my God, I agree with this so much. Like, as Ellie, you have a purpose in your revenge. And when you play as Abby, since you already fulfill that purpose by killing Joel, at this point, it just kind of feels like you're playing because you have to, because the game is built to be that way. Like, I don't care about her love triangle with a man and a woman who's pregnant, Day one in Seattle as Abby took so long that by the end of just day one, I was begging to go back and play as Ellie. But then I found out that instead you actually play all 3 days as Abby. Like, ooh, I was not happy about that. I don't care about Abby. Even now, as I've finished the game and played through it, Ellie is still my girl. I care about her 10 times more than Abby, regardless of whatever mistakes she has made as a character. Humanizing Abby didn't work because we already saw her being an animal.
Because they have.
On top of this, you spend most of the game kind of being reminded that Abby and Ellie are 2 sides of the same coin. The parallels drawn between the two are about as subtle as Abby's 9-iron into Joel's face. Abby literally even collects coins the same way that Ellie collects cards. Like, seriously, Naughty Dog shoved the idea down our throats. She collects coins. A little bit of subtlety would have gone a long way. They really want you to feel like Abby and Ellie are so similar, and I got it, but because I don't care about Abby, I just didn't really get it. The first day drags on because of those flashback scenes. There's too many of them, and Like, I would have loved the flashbacks to spread out a little bit so the first day wasn't such a drag. And by the way, I don't care about Owen either. Why are they trying to make me care about her and Owen's relationship? He seems like the worst. They have a really weird sex scene that's like violent and not romantic at all, but we're still supposed to continue to care about them as if they were ever in love, when really it just seems like Abby has like a childhood crush that has gone too far. I don't care about Owen. I just wanted to move on. The second and third day are much more exciting and interesting to play through. You're introduced to two of the best characters in the game, Lev and Yara. Like, they made up for everything. Lev and Yara are fleeing the Seraphites, which is a traditionalist cult that promises freedom and safety to those seeking shelter, but of course that couldn't be less than the truth. Abby collides as these two as they're trying to escape, and she ends up actually helping them because Lev wants to go back and save his mom from them, and of course, that's a bad idea. One really important thing to note about Lev is that he's a trans individual. He's a trans video game character. Many groups were upset because Lev is actually misgendered and dead-named by the Seraphite group as they search for him in a nearby building. And honestly, justice does get served because you kind of kill all those people anyways, and Lev does get a few hits in. After speaking to a few trans activists, I think it can be kind of agreed that while dead naming and misgendering is violent, it was used as a storytelling mechanism, and I actually think it explores an area of post-apocalyptic worlds that we don't really talk about. What does racism, homophobia, and transphobia look like in a zombie apocalypse? It's still around. Just because the world ends doesn't mean people stop being hateful. And the only people who are actually transphobic are the Seraphites. Lev is referred to as a boy and uses he pronouns, and everyone uses he pronouns toward him throughout the rest of the game, including the hateful group that we see at the end calls him a boy. This is actually an example where I feel like misgendering someone and talking about their past relationship with themselves is actually a great tool. And it's something that even I haven't thought about before. Already in a civilized society, individuals in those groups are not protected, and people are fighting for them. What happens when you're in a survivalist society and you're part of a group that is no longer protecting you? And you don't have anybody in that group to protect you either. Survival actually means something so different for trans characters and gay characters in a way where I didn't even think about until this game. What happens when you go to a group that you think is safe and they don't accept you for who you are? Where do you go because you're in a zombie apocalypse? That was the kind of questions that this brought up for me, and I've never even challenged myself with those questions before. I think it's a really real way to look at how hate and transphobia continue even through the worst of times. Even when the world has fallen apart, people will still try to keep a traditional sense of American and Western life, and that's rooted in transphobia, and a fear of a life without binaries and boundaries still exists. Yara's character actually explores how hard it was as a sibling to transition with Lev, but in the end, her love for her brother was more powerful than any confusion she had. Now, of course, Yara dies because there's no such thing as happiness in this game, but I'm glad she used her last breath to make sure Abby and Lev can escape. You know, I love Abby's character design. A ton of people hated seeing such a strong and masculine looking woman, but I don't know. I think it's hot, and even though I hate who she is as a character, she can still step on my neck anytime. Her character design is great. She, again, is super strong, but she has that sweet and loving side for Owen and the dogs. But she also happens to be one of the group's top assassins and laughs in the face of people she's killed, so maybe we don't give her too much credit. In fact, her need for revenge actually put her entire group in danger, and it basically results in them being picked off one by one with Ellie. Game director Neil Druckmann did say that The Last of Us Part 2 is about the cycle of violence. He wanted players to feel repulsed by their actions and some of the violence in the game, and the game does succeed in making us think perhaps more deeply about the violence that we perpetuate in video games. The developers wanted you to feel bad about the people you killed. You learn everybody's backstories about their family, the people they love. They make you kill dogs, but they make you feel terrible about it. And honestly, I hated that part because no matter what you do, you have to kill the dogs. I tried so hard to not kill the dogs, and no matter how far away I would crawl from them, I'd like shoot their owners from afar and crawl away, and they'd always pick up my damn scent. I did not want to kill them though. I did not want to kill the dogs. They were so cute. They made you play fetch with them and they made you shoot them in the face. The truth is, I didn't feel bad about killing the people, even when we got to know them. Like, I'm not sure if that's just because there's like so many people to keep track of in this game compared to the first one, but the characters in the first Last of Us felt so lifelike because we saw them have an array of emotions and we saw them make nuanced decisions. It made you care about the characters and the choices they made. Compared to this, the characters in this game feel like, I don't know, maybe one-dimensional is a good word. They're either fueled by rage and revenge, or they're just a side character whose kind of background is just to show players why revenge never pays and why we should feel bad for our actions. A major difference between the first Last of Us and the part 2 is that the first game also doesn't cast judgment on Joel's choice at the end of the game. It's up to players to decide, like, did Joel do the right thing? In the second part, Naughty Dog makes sure that you feel bad for your actions. They make the choice for you. One of the biggest risks that this game took is that it made sure players were miserable. They tried to make you feel bad about who you kill. They want you to feel bad about what's going on and your role in it. And one scene actually makes this feel more obvious than all of the others. It's actually when Ellie and Abby are finally reunited and bam! Tommy is shot dead, well, seemingly dead. When you finally are reunited with Ellie after hours of wanting to play as her again, what are you rewarded with? Not a scene where you get to take over as Ellie and kick Abby's ass, but instead you play as Abby and you beat the crap out of Ellie instead. Like, at this point, I put my controller down. I let her die immediately at first. I didn't want to play. I almost stopped playing on stream. I did not want to play this part of the game, but you have to. It makes you miserable, but it makes you finish the game. Naughty Dog threw me off here. I actually thought that this was how the game ends. Abby almost kills Ellie and is inches away from killing Dina when Lev begs her not to. And Abby leaves basically saying, don't come after us again. Like, ooh, I thought this was the end. Ooh, I thought this was the end, and I was mad. I was livid. Like, if this was the end, if this was the end, it would have meant that we played hours of Abby with no chance to get to play as Ellie again. It means that Abby learned nothing and didn't become a better person. She needed Lev to stop her from killing Dina, a pregnant woman. Like, she didn't learn anything. I was more upset about this ending than I have about a game in a long time, but surprise, the game actually moves on. Ellie and Dina are happily raising their baby on a farm in the middle of nowhere. All seems perfect and awesome until Tommy shows up and basically curses out Ellie for giving up on her plans for revenge and living happily. Also, wait a second, how is Tommy alive? Did he not get shot in the head? Can we roll the tape, please? Ow. Is this not getting shot in the head? Okay, maybe it's just me, okay, whatever. Ellie has like a PTSD flashback to the killing of Joel, which I guess reignites her want for revenge, and she leaves her happy gay life and goes after Abby again. Like, come on, girl. Dina shows so much love for her, and Ellie chooses revenge anyways. Players basically watch the whole game as Ellie grows into this angry person. The little girl we all love and adored is gone, and what's left is an angry woman who yells eat shit at people that she just slit the throats of, and I guess leaves people that she loves behind. Revenge has consumed her completely, and she'll do anything to make Joel's killer pay, and that's where you truly actually learn the moral of the story, that revenge never pays. For me, it wasn't. It wasn't when we were killing all those other people, it was this moment. The moment where Ellie chose love last. Ellie chose revenge over love. Abby and Lev are looking for safety when they're captured by a new group full of normal civilians in militia gear and helmets. So at this final part of the game, you do get to play as Ellie, but she is stabbed in the side, bitten yet again, kills more and more people who are part of a group that we don't even get the chance to learn about before Ellie wipes them out completely. And she's literally hobbling toward Abby at the end. She can't even get over the smallest of obstacles, but she's still hell-bent on that revenge. And when she finally gets to Abby, when we finally get to the ending that we are all looking forward to, the chance to beat the shit out of her and make her right for Joel's death, it's not even Abby that we're fighting anymore. This isn't the Abby that we knew in the game. She's lost all of her muscles, she's defeated, she couldn't even care less that Ellie is there, she just wants to get Lev and get out. But Ellie is not ready to let it go. And this ensues one of the most beautiful and emotional fights in a final boss, I guess, that I think the PS4 has to offer. And playing through this part, I felt really conflicted. Like, I didn't know if I wanted her dead at this point. Maybe if she was the old, strong Abby, I'd feel better, but this was just somebody who wants this to be over just as badly as players do. The battle's brutal. With every dodge, Abby ends up getting you eventually, and it refuels your hate and want for her to die all over again. And then it happens. You beat her. She's drowning in the water, and just like the first game, you don't get a choice. You have to drown Abby, and the cycle of violence continues. Or does it? Like, oh my God, I didn't see that part coming. Like my heart, my poor little tiny heart. The thought of Joel stopped the cycle. It stopped Ellie. It's perfect because he technically started the cycle. What follows is a scene showing what Joel and Ellie could have had, the relationship that they were starting to prepare. I was crying the whole time. I don't think I've ever seen such a lifelike AAA game that has a coming out storyline like this. I may be wrong and there's plenty, I just haven't seen any, and it hit me hard.
But I do know that she would be lucky to have you.
That's really sweet to me that he's so supportive of her. Ah! You're such an asshole. It's a beautiful ending. Oh my God. Tragically, by the end of it, even though she didn't kill Abby, she did lose everything. Dina's gone with the baby, and most of the people that she loved are gone. During her fight with Abby, Ellie loses 2 of her fingers. So she can barely even play the guitar, when playing guitar was one of the only times in the game where you found a moment of peace and happiness. It was a really fitting end to the story that they're telling. Last of Us 2 is a beautiful game, but by the end you really do just want it to be over. Story aside, you also can't help but adore the brilliant graphics, the compelling acting, and new gameplay mechanisms in crafting and in combat. Bad parts aside, this game has that Naughty Dog signature polish along with the new additions that make the game's world feel even more immersive. You actually spend much of Ellie's first day in Seattle entirely on horseback, exploring a small open world area of the city, which was a nice surprise in a game that didn't allow for a lot of open world gameplay in the last game. But because that part is too fun and this is supposed to be miserable, your horse blows up shortly after you finish the area, because again, you're not supposed to have fun with this game. The #1 risk that Naughty took making this game is that they made a game that isn't fun to play. It's hard to play. It's emotional to play. Like, whether you loved it or gave up on it like I almost did, everybody is talking about this game because it's a game that took a lot of risks. I hated playing as Abby, like I really did. Most of the story beats were actually really predictable with a few surprises thrown in, and I didn't love how obvious it was that they were trying to humanize the enemy. Like, again, a little more subtlety would have gone an even longer way. But even when this game makes you unhappy and uncomfortable, they make it worthwhile. It's a different way to flesh out a story, and like, oh God, the violence is actually a lot, but it does drive home how grotesque some of video games are. I cried my eyes out. I couldn't put the game down, and there were multiple times where I actually gasped at how beautiful the game looked. I literally can't figure out a rating. Like, it's somewhere between like a 4 and a 4.5 out of 5. Sometimes when I really think back on it, I think really fondly of how much I loved so many parts of the games. But sometimes when I think back, I think about how frustrating it was to play as Abby for so long and how much I hated her. Like really, Naughty Dog, really. You could have cut the Abby stuff by about 2 hours, but okay, I could talk about this forever, and I'm sure this video is gonna be super long already. I didn't still even get some of my thoughts out, but oh well, like we didn't really cover the different groups like the Wolves and the Seraphites and the Militia group. There's so much to say about this game and so much to think about after playing, and honestly, that must mean it's a pretty good game. The game is just as beautiful, heartbreaking, and brutal as the first game. It does an amazing job at giving a platform to characters that are diverse without making them feel like token minorities and just like people. I did have a lot of questions about the ending though. Like the first Last of Us kind of faulted because it made the storyline where the child version of Ellie drags a fully grown Joel through the snow while he's knocked out into safety. Like that felt unbelievable. And this ending had some same things as well. Like how did Tommy survive? How the hell did Dina have a baby successfully? How did her baby also survive just being slammed into floorboards over again? Like, what happened to Tommy? Does he know that Ellie went after Abby? Part 2 definitely still has some of those same unanswerable problems, but hey, doesn't every game? So again, even though this is already so long, I barely covered the surface, but let's talk about it, you and me instead. What did you think? Drop it in the comments below. Let's have a discussion going because again, I could talk about this video for days, but again, it's already probably pretty long, so I have to wrap it up. So that's it. That's all I'm saying about it today. If I have more thoughts, maybe I'll make another video, but God, who knows? I am Riley Rose and I am signing out. Take care of yourselves, drink some water, take some medication, and go, I don't know, pick a flower today. Bye.